President, please be seated. The court is now in session. Today, the chamber will hear testimony of a witness through TCW 873, and if time permits, we will hear another reserve witness, that is through TCW 252. Greffier, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals at today's proceedings. Greffier, Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nunchi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his rights to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. A witness who is to testify today, that is to TCW 873, confirms that to the best of his knowledge, he has no relationship by blood or by law to any of the two accused, that is Nunchi and Kiew Sampon, or to any of the civil parties admitted in this case. The witness took an oath before the Iron Club statue yesterday, and he has Mr. Mom Ratir as his duty counsel. Both are awaiting the chamber's call. We have a reserved civil party today, that is 2TCCP 252. Thank you, Mr. President. President, thank you, Ms. Chisu Huang. The chamber now decides on the request by Nuon Chea. The chamber has received a waiver from Nuon Chea, dated 16 September 2015, which notes that due to his health, headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requests to waive his right to participate in and be present at the 16 September 2015 hearing. Having seen the medical report of Nuon Chea by the duty doctor for the accused at ECCC, dated 16 September 2015, which notes that Nuon Chea has back pain and it becomes severe when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nuon Chea his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via audio-visual means, and the chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nuon Chea can follow it. And this applies to the whole day. Court officer, please usher a witness to TCW 873 as well as his duty counsel through the courtroom. And Counsel Copper, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, Counsel. As indicated in email earlier this morning to the senior legal officer, I would indeed like to make oral submissions in relation to a request we received yesterday from the International Co-Prosecutor. It was a request to call 3 additional witnesses in relation to the treatment of the charm. My submissions are not submissions in response to the request, because we will use the opportunity to file written submissions. But we have 2 requests to make in relation or in reaction to this request now. The prosecutor, International Co-Prosecutor, asked for 3 witnesses, as I said. One of the witnesses the prosecutor asked for was someone who testified here in court in case 201. 2 others testified as well, but only before.
Counsel Copper, the chamber has just received the document, and I think you should make your submission this afternoon so that the chamber will have an opportunity to review that submission. It is better than to leave this matter for the afternoon session starting from 1:30.
Fair enough, no problem. Although the request for relief that we intend to ask is to stop the present proceedings and give us additional time. However, I don't see a problem in having this witness testify in the morning, and then we can address the issue after lunch.
President, good morning, Mr. Witness. What is your name? Witness, my name is Tai Kum Hoon. President, thank you, Mr. Tai Kum Hoon. And when were you born? Witness, I was born in 1950. Question, and when were you born? Where, rather? Answer, I was born in Angkor Ban 2 village, or it is also known as Antung So village. It is in Angkor Ban commune, and I married my wife who was from Piem Chikong. Question, and where is your current address? And please observe the microphone before you respond. Answer, currently I live in Sambomirko village, Kong Mia, Kampong Cham province. Question, what is your profession or occupation? Answer, I am a rice farmer. Question, what are the names of your father and mother? Answer, my father is Li Tai and my mother is Kong Mai. Question, and what is your wife's name and how many children do you have together? Answer, my wife is Jim Kim Sring and we have one child. Actually, we have 2 children. One died during the Pol Pot regime. And Mr. Akum Hoon, the greffier, made an oral report that, to the best of your knowledge, you do not have any relationship to any of the 2 accused, that is, Nunchi or Kiel Sampon, or to any other civil party admitted in this case. Is that correct? Answer, yes, that is correct. President, The greffier also reported that you already took an oath before the Iron Clapper statue yesterday's morning. Is that correct? Answer: yes, I already threw an oath yesterday. President, the Chamber would like to inform you of your rights and obligations as a witness. Your rights. As a witness in the proceedings before the Chamber, you may refuse to respond to any question or to make any comment which may incriminate you. That is your right against self-incrimination. This means that you may refuse to provide your response or make any comment that could lead you to being prosecuted. Now, on your obligations, Mr. Tai Kum Hoon, as a witness in the proceedings before the Chamber, you must respond to any questions by the bench or relevant parties, except where your response or comment to those questions may incriminate you, as the Chamber has just informed you of your rights as a witness. You must tell the truth that you have known, heard, seen, remembered, experienced, or observed directly about an event or occurrence relevant to the questions that the bench or parties pose to you. And Mr. Tai Kum Hoon, have you been interviewed by investigators of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges? If so, how many times, when, and where? Answer: I was interviewed once at my home. Question: and do you recall when it happened? Answer: I cannot recall it, Mr. President. President: that is all right. And before you appear before the Chamber, have you reviewed or read the written record of your statement that you provided at your home in order to refresh your memory? Answer: I have poor eye vision, and I asked my other sibling to read it aloud to me, and I cannot recall everything. However, I can respond to the questions in relation to my statements, President. And to your best recollection, is the written record of your statements that you have it read aloud to you consistent with the actual statements you provided during the interview with the investigator at your home? Answer: it is about the same. President, Mr. Tai Kum Hoon, now you are being assisted by the Duty Council through a vessel based on your request, and you have Mr. Momratir, who is sitting beside you. Have you been introduced to your counsel? Duty Counsel Momratir: Mr. President, and good morning, everyone. I am a duty counsel for the witness, and I actually made a contact and communicated with my client since yesterday. President, Mr. Tai Kum Hoon, is that the case? That is what has been stated by your duty counsel? And said yes, that is the case. President, pursuant to Rule 91B of the ECCC internal rules, the Chamber will hand the floor to the co-prosecutors first to put the questions to this witness, and the combined time for the co-prosecutors and the lead co-lawyers for civil parties are 2 sessions. You may proceed. Prosecutor, good morning, Mr. President, journalists, and everyone in and around the courtroom. And good morning, Mr. Witness. My name is Sri Ratana. I am a National Deputy Co-Prosecutor. I have some questions to put to you in relation to your experience. Question: where were you living before 1975? Answer: in 1975, I lived in Sambomi village, PM Chikong commune, Kongmi district, Kampong Cham province. Question: and from 1975, did you continue living in the same area or were you transferred elsewhere? Answer: I continued living in the same area. Question: so you were never relocated elsewhere before and during 1975? Let me break my question into two parts. The first part is in relation to your residence before 1975, and the second part is after 1975. Answer: before 1975, I lived in Angkoban number 2 village, but at that time I was unmarried. And in 1972, I moved to live in Sambomi village, Kaumir district in Kampong Cham province. So, did you start living in Sambomi from 1972 until today? Answer: yes, I've been living there since 1972. Question: does it mean you only moved from one village to another within the same commune? And please wait till my question ends before you respond, otherwise it is difficult for the interpreters to interpret. Do the two villages that you mentioned locate in Kongmi district? Answer: PM Chikong and Angkoban communes are located in Kongmi district. Since you've been living in Kongmi district, are you familiar with the old Tribunal pagoda? Answer: I lived nearby the pagoda. Question: which village is the pagoda located in? Answer: the pagoda is located in Sambomi village, PM Chikong commune, Kongmi district, Kampong Cham province. Question: what do you mean when you said you lived nearby the pagoda? Answer: my house is located about 50 meters from the compound of the pagoda. Question: What was the pagoda used for during the Democratic Cambodia regime? Answer. During the regime, the pagoda was transformed into a prison. Question. You said it was turned into a prison, and in what year did that happen? Answer. I cannot recall that. Question. Did you know about any event of particular that happened in that prison? Answer. In the pagoda turn prison, I saw people actually being walked into the pagoda, and allow me to tell you that the kitchen hall was just next to the entrance to the road leading to the pagoda. Question. How often did you see people being walked into the pagoda? Answer. It was quite often. Question. You said it's quite often. Can you tell us the frequency? For example, how many times per day or per week or per month? Answer. Of course, I did not count. At that time, I was assigned to plow the rice field. So during most of the time during the day, I spent plowing the field, and I only returned to the kitchen hall during meal time. Question. How many times did you actually witness the event? Answer. It was about 4 to 5 times. Question. And you said you saw people being walked in while you were having meals. And what were the times for your meal? Answer. I had meal at 11:30. Question. Can you clarify the matter? What was the time that you saw people being walked in while you were having meal? Did you have lunch or dinner while you saw those people being walked? Answer. It was right at 11:30. Question. And each time that you saw those people being walked into the pagoda, how many of them? Answer. I did not count, and I was even afraid to look at them. Question. Were there many, or were there only a few? Answer. Sometimes I saw 2 people being walked into the compound. Sometimes I only saw 1 person. Question. Did you ever witness a group of people being walked? Answer. No, I did not. Question. And you said you saw people were being walked there. Were they always on foot or were they being transported by any other means, for example on motorbike, bicycle or horse cart? Answer, they were on foot. Question. Besides being walked on foot, did you see any other means of people being taken into the pagoda? Answer, no. Prosecutor, in order to jog your memory, in your written record of interview, when you spoke to the investigator of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges in document E3/5257, the Khmer ENE at 00243043, rather 4303, says the prosecutor, and the French EN is at 00342666, and the English EN is at 00251016. You were asked whether you saw prisoners being walked into the pagoda and how many times, and you said you saw those prisoners being taken from the boat for one time. Can you confirm that? Deputy the defense counsel. Deputy Co-Prosecutor, please specify the Khmer EN again. The document is E3/5257, says the Co-Prosecutor, and the EN is at 00243103. Answer. No, I did not see prisoners being taken off the boat, because I usually plowed the field in the forest. Question. And about those people that you saw being walked into the pagoda, were they tied up? Answer, yes, they were.
Question. Were they men or women? Were there any children including in that group? Answer. Yes, there were both children and older people. Question. Were the children tied up? Answer. No, they were not. The children were walking behind their parents. They were not tied up. Question. You stated that the children were following their parents. Does this mean that they were brought in the entire family were brought into that place? Answer. I have no idea what I could see is that the 3 or 4-year-old children were not tied up. They were walking behind their parents. Question. Were they tied in lines? Answer. No, they were not. They were tied up separately. Question. When they were being walked into that place, were they tortured? Answer. No, no torture was inflicted on them. Question. How many people who were there who were in charge of leading the prisoners into that place? Answer. There were 2 of them. They were quite young. Question. Could you tell the chamber about the people who were being tied up? Were they new people or what kind of them? Answer. I do not know whether they were new people or any type of people. Question. Do you know some of them? Answer. I have never seen these people before. The people who had been arrested were not known by me, and I have never seen them before. Question. What do you mean by that? Do you know them or you know them? Answer. I do not know the people who had been arrested and being walked. Question. You made a mention that you do not know those people. Why were they arrested? Have you got any idea? Answer. I do not know what was going on at that time, and I do not know why they were arrested. Question. Were there any people at the pagoda to receive those people who had been arrested? Answer. I never entered into the pagoda myself, so I have no idea whether there were people there to receive the people. Co-prosecutor, you said a while ago that your house was located about 50 meters away from the pagoda. Did you ever hear the music being played inside the pagoda? Answer. While I was working, I could hear the music over the loudspeaker, while every time I was at home, I did not hear any music. At night time, I would go to work to transplant rice seedling and work in the field from 6 to 10 p.m. I heard the music was being played, and I could see the torch used to light the place very dimly, and I was told that people were being killed, so I ran away to my house. Question: were you working at that time from 6 to 10 p.m. when you said you heard the music was being played? Being played. Answer: in fact, I returned from work at about 9 or 10 p.m. on that day. Question: you stated that you worked from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So, at what time did you hear the music? Answer: after I returned from work, I heard the music. Question: when did the music stop playing over the loudspeaker? Answer: I did not know when they stopped playing the music at that time. Question: you stated that you heard the loud music being played at around 10 p.m. Did you hear it right after you returned at home? Answer: I heard the music was being played at 10 p.m. and I did not know when the music started. Question: could you clarify this point for the court? When were you at that time and how far was you from the pagoda? President: please hold on and observe the microphone before you speak. While you are waiting for microphone to be activated, you can have some time to think of what you're going to respond to the question. I have repeatedly told you about the operation of microphone. Witness, could you repeat your question, please, Mr. Co-prosecutor? Co-prosecutor, when you heard the music being played over the loudspeaker, how far were you from the pagoda? Where were you at that time? I want to know the exact location. Answer: I was in front of the pagoda. I was to the east of pagoda. Question: so what were you doing at that time? Were you going somewhere? Answer: I was going to work in the field transplanting the rice seedlings. Co-prosecutor, Mr. Witness, please listen to my questions carefully, or perhaps my questions are not clear to you. That is why I receive different answers from you. You stated that you returned from work at 10 p.m. And you also stated that you were about 70 meters away from the pagoda when you heard the music being played. So I would like to know, where were you at that time and were you going somewhere at that time? Answer: I was going back home from work at that time. When you arrived home, did you still hear the music? Answer: no, I no longer heard the music being played over the loudspeaker at that time after I a ride home. Question: what was the location of your house? Answer: my house was located to the east of the pagoda. However, I was transferred from my house and I was allowed to live 1 kilometer away from my house. Question: so at that time you were not living in your house, you were living about 1 kilometer away from your house. Is that correct? Answer: yes, that is correct. Question: who told you that while the music was being played, there would be killings? Answer: villagers told me about that. My work colleagues told me. They said that perhaps people were being killed. That's why the music was being played. Question: did you hear the music often? Answer: what kind of music you want to know? Co-prosecutor: the music over the loudspeakers. Answer: while I was at work, I could hear the music. Question: did you hear the music often? Answer: I could hear the music being played once in a while. Question: before the pagoda was turned into a security center, did you ever hear the music being played? Answer: I heard the music, different types of music played during the daytime and also during night time. Question: so you would hear the music being played before the pagoda was turned into a security center. So when did it happen exactly? You made a mention that after the pagoda was turned into a security center, you would hear the music being played once in a while. So before that time, had you ever heard that kind of music being played over the loudspeaker? Answer: before the pagoda was turned into a security center, I would hear the preaching by monk being played over the loudspeakers. Question: besides the loud music being played over the loudspeaker, did you hear any other music or screaming? I am asking you about the sound from the pagoda. What kind of sound did you hear from the pagoda? Answer: I only heard the loud music being played over the loudspeakers. Question. Every time you witness people were being marched into the pagoda during the daytime, did you hear the music being played at night time or at daytime? Answer. I cannot get your question, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. Question. On the day that you saw people were being walked into the pagoda, did you hear the music being played at night time on that day? Answer. I do not know where the where the people were put into the pagoda. As I told you, while I was returning from work, I could hear the music being played. Question. Did that happen on the day that you saw people were being arrested, being marched rather? Answer. No, sometimes I could hear the music being played. Question. You use the term sometimes. Perhaps there were on some occasion that you could also hear the music being played. Let me rephrase my question. You often heard the music being played over the loudspeaker while returning from work. At that time, perhaps you were about 70 meters away from the place where the music came from. Did on the night that you heard the music being played, was it that day that you witnessed people were being marched into the pagoda during the daytime? Answer. I did not always see people were being marched into the pagoda. Sometimes I spent my time at the worksite, co-prosecutor. My apology, perhaps my questions are too complicated for you and you cannot get the gist of them. I would like to simplify my questions. Now, you stated that you witnessed people were being marched into the pagoda. What happened to them after they were put into the compound of the pagoda? Answer. I do not know what happened to them, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. Question. Did you understand my last question or you do not know what happened to them? Question. What happened to those who had been brought into the pagoda? President, please hold on, Mr. Witness. You have the floor now, Mr. Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think now the time has come to object to these questions. They are repetitive. The underlying assumption is that music was only played presumably when people were killed. I mean, there's also the option that music was played and nobody was killed. The other underlying assumption of the prosecution is that whenever people were brought in, they would be killed the same night. That's also a presumption. The witness has clearly answered that he sometimes heard music and that he doesn't know what happened inside. I think that's all he can say, and prosecutors should now refrain from asking over and over again the same question.
ខ្ញុំអាចសួរសំណួរ
Co-prosecutor, I can rephrase my question, but I did not ask whether the people were killed inside the pagoda. I only asked what happened to those people who had been brought into the pagoda. Document E3/5257 EON in Khmer 002431 07 in English 00251021 French 00342672. You provided answers to the investigators of the OCIJ. You were asked what did they do to the prisoner who had been brought into the pagoda, and your answer is they were killed in front of the pagoda. So my question is, how do you know such incident? President, please hold on. Mr. Winner, you may now proceed. Counsel Kung Sam On. Counsel Kung Sam On. Thank you, Mr. President. I think the question put by National Deputy Co-Prosecutor has no foundation. He did not ask any basic general question first before he went to ask such a question. So please, Co-Prosecutor, rephrase your question. Co-Prosecutor, let me clarify this point with you, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. You have testified before the chamber that you do not know about the killing. Before the investigators of the OCIJ, you stated that prisoners were killed in front of the pagoda. So which version of your testimony is correct? Is it the statement in the OCIJ written record of interview or the statement before the chamber now? Answer. I did not know whether prisoners were killed in front of the pagoda at that time. However, later on, after the end of the regime, I learned about this. Co-Prosecutor, how did you know that those people were killed after the end of the regime? Where did you learn from? Answer. Villagers went to see the grave pits. Question. How large were those grave pits? Answer. There were large and small grave pits. Question. How many grave pits were there? Answer. I did not count them. Question. could you give your estimate how large the small pit was and how large the large pit was? Answer: I cannot tell you the estimate, Mr. Co-Prosecutor. Question: what did you see inside the grave pits when you, together with villagers, went to see the pits? Answer: I did not go to observe the things inside the pits. However, villagers told me that there were skeletons. Question: what about clothes or any parts of, what about clothes and other belongings? Answer: I was told that there were clothes in those pits. Question: did they tell you what types of clothes they were? Did they tell you that those clothes belong to Khmer people or any type of people? Answer: I was told that they were normal clothes. Question: what do you mean by that? The answer: I do not know whether the clothes belongs to any other ethnicity, but I was told that they were normal clothes as we used to wear. Mr. President, I would like to hand over the floor to my esteemed international co-prosecutor. President, you may now proceed, co-prosecutor for the international side.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honours. Good morning, Council. Good morning to the public. And good morning, witness. When did you go to the pagoda after the fall of democratic Kampuchea? Did you go immediately after, in January 1979, or sometime after that?
I actually entered the pagoda compound right in 1979 when the pagoda was being rebuilt and refurnished.
And is your evidence correct that you can't remember how many pits there were and how many were small and how many were large? Is that your evidence? It's hard to remember the numbers of pits.
Yes, that's what I said.
And is it your evidence that you could see the pits, but you're saying that you didn't look inside the pits to see if there were bodies in there or not? Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. I did not look inside the pit since the stench was rather strong.
And what was the stench of? What was the smell?
It was the stench of corpses.
Do you know a person called Chia Mali?
As you refer to Chimali, the commune chief, if there is the case, yes, I do know him.
And was Chiamali, was he a Buddhist monk before 1975?
Yes, he was a monk staying in that pagoda.
And do you remember whether he went to the pagoda after 1979 or early in 1979 to look at the pits? Do you remember whether he went there or not?
The commune chief was a monk there, or had been a monk there until the time that he was asked to disrobe. And later on, he got married to a woman whose house was not far from the pagoda.
Thank you for that. And do you remember whether he went to look at the pits as well?
I do not know whether he actually went to look at those pits, as my house was far from his.
Are you able to say when he was disrobed as a monk? Like in 1974, 75, 76, or any other time? When was he disrobed as a monk?
I cannot recall the year.
You may not recall the year, but was it in the democratic Cambodia regime between 1975 and 1979? Can you say that, or can you not?
He was living there between 1975 to 1979. He was not relocated anywhere.
But when the pagoda was turned into a security office, was he still living there, or when he disrobed, did he have to leave?
After he disrobed, he left the pagoda and went to live with his family.
And was he forced to disrobe, or did he do it by his own choice?
He was forced to disrobe.
And who forced him to do that?
It was the Khmer Rouge group.
Thank you. I'd like to put a statement that he made about when he went to the Wat and saw the pits, and also about when he disrobed. If I can put that statement to you, and if you can give me your reaction to it. Tell me whether you think it's accurate or not. from what you were able to see when you went to the Wat early in 1979. And I'm referring to E3/7827, English 0021 0432 to 33, Khmer 0063.
President Deputy Co-Prosecutor, please repeat the document number and the year and slowly. Thank you.
Sorry, Your Honour, for speaking so fast there. E3/7827, English 0021 0432 to 33, Khmer 0063 5155 to 56, and French 0062 0031. And witness, this is what Chiamali told the investigators as to what he saw. When I visited the Wat in 1979, after the end of the Khmer Rouge regime, the Wat itself had been removed, except for one monastery that had been used by the Khmer Rouge for security. I saw cuts and holes in the wall. In front of the temple, there were about 100 to 150 pits. I saw these both in early 1979 and at the end of 1979. Some pits had 5 bodies and some others contained 50 to 100 bodies. The pit sizes ranged from about 2 metres by 2 metres to 5 metres by 5 metres. The pits were not there when I left the Wat in April 1976. So they had to have been created between April 1976 and early 1979. The area in which the pits were located has since been used for plantation. The remains that have been collected are just a portion of the bodies buried there. The remains in the stupa at Wat O Trakon are only about 3/10 of the total number of bodies that were there. Witness, he said a number of things in that statement, but what's your comment in relation to that statement? Does it seem accurate to you? Inaccurate? Can you give us a comment about what he saw?
I object to this question, Mr. President. He just said that he didn't actually look into it. He has no knowledge. He's not in a position to confirm this statement. He can give a comment. I don't have a problem with this. But we just established that that would be what he's asking the prosecution is beyond the realm of his knowledge. So I don't think that is a fair question. Comment, fine, but not on the specifics.
Your Honour, I haven't asked him about the specifics. I just asked his reaction, whether he felt it was accurate or inaccurate. He clearly knows a lot about the pits there because he went there. Perhaps rather than have a debate, can you please comment on what Chiamali said?
President, witness, please hold on. The objection raised by the defense counsel for Nuon Chea is overruled. The question is permissible And Mr. Witness, please respond to the last question put to you by the Deputy Co-Prosecutor. Witness. I do not make any contact or discuss any matter with the commune chief regarding the pits or the number of pits. So I do not know the actual number of pits there.
Thank you, but you did go to the Wat. You've testified that you went to the Wat to see the pits. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, I went to the Wat in order to prepare for the religious ceremony, but not to pay particular attention to the pits. I went to actually clean up the area to pile the broken materials there.
Just one last question, Your Honour. Witness, you talked about the stench of corpses, human bodies. Do you know whether bodies were removed from the Wat, from those pits? Were there any exhumations of those bodies, taking them out of the pits?
The remains were gathered and stored at the stupa, which is located just in front of the temple. And actually, the fund for building the stupa was from Excellency Mao Pirund and the current Prime Minister. President, thank you, Co-Prosecutor. It is now appropriate for a short break. We'll take a break now and return at 10:30. Court officer, please assist the witness during the break time at the waiting room for witnesses and civil parties, and invite him as well as the duty counsel back into the courtroom at 10:30.
សូមអញ្ជើញក្រោកឈរ